Tell me what's on your mind.
Whoa, that's me.
There you go.
Beat me up, Scotty. You know?
Well, I usually played that advertisement, but evidently it's getting Luke Stone's channels claimed. So,
Which one is
yeah.
that?
You know, the advertisement with the rocking the heavy metal with
Oh, yeah.
flames
Okay.
and everything. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it's getting him struck evidently.
Was it the audio?
Yep. I'm pretty sure it's a Meshuggah song. I don't know why. Mr. Good Stuff does great work. I don't know why he doesn't go find something neutral to be the background, but he does it all the time.
Did he tell you where he got that from?
Well, I mean, it's a mainstream group. I mean, it's he was doing a opening credits for the high stream for a while. The first thing he did was try it with a Tool song. Just the recording of a Tool song, basically.
Really?
Eventually, went with the live version, but they were going with the
Yeah, that's tricky stuff. I'll tell you what. So when I did the trailer for Shadowpunk,
Mm-hmm.
I bought the audio. I bought it on Pond 5.
Yeah.
Right. So when I went on to Red Valkyrie, they said they were afraid they were going to get struck, even though I paid for it,
right?
Because they have been struck in the past. My approach would be to buy it. Do not use stuff that people own.
There's like music out there that's just like there's like a multi-million-dollar industry now of people just making like new music in different styles that hold on a second. Todd Redshift Comics was first today. And he's already gone, but he was first.
So Todd's doing something for you?
Todd's doing everything for me.
Because I sent him some images, and maybe that'd be good advice is to spend $10 on buying your audio.
Yeah, he's just so busy right now. I mean, eventually he'll slow down. We're trying to do a show together, but we can never get prong A can never get to prong B or slot B. But anyway,
yeah.
Greetings, sinners. I'll be here just for a few minutes. It's almost dinner time. Well, thank you for giving us a few minutes there, Mr. Marv V. Sin Killer. All right.
So, go ahead.
And not the flawless YouTube guidelines are never were on. The Fizzard says, yes, they are from time to time. We'll talk about that. Anyway.
So this is, and you can bring up any topic today, right?
Yeah. Let's throw it out there, man.
Okay, so this is a writing show to a large degree, but it's also a fan of comic book show.
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
So we're all creators, and I guess if there were more people here, we'd even get a better consensus. But what is it if you're going to come up with a character to, let's say, your hero or your villain in your book? What are the elements that make that thing potent for people to really get into? Because, for example, Dr. Doom and Arcade.
Yeah.
Right? Two different villains. Dr. Doom is way more compelling. Arcade is kind of a niche, right?
Right.
So when I've seen a lot of CG books and they do the ideas behind the characters are different. And the actual visual design of the characters are different. And I've been trying to figure out, because some of them I think are better than others.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll be honest. I'm going to let's use Cyberfrog. I think he's a really cool, really kick-ass, cool looking hero.
Yeah.
He visually has shit that you can just look at all day. Right.
Right.
That is a big element to make people draw in. Right. And he's also dynamic in the way he can bend. Not bend,
right.
But he's super flexible, right? So that makes him like Spider-Man kind of. But there's so many factors that go into making a character compelling.
Right.
I'm wondering what those factors are, or if you even have an opinion about it.
Well, it is something that's pretty ephemeral. I mean, you see some characters that should be home runs, and they're like there a few episodes or a few issues, and they're gone because they never really caught on with people. Then you got people that are supposed to be one shots that wind up being villains that are there for decades, and like Deadpool really was only supposed to be in a couple issues.
Okay, really?
Yeah, it was just there, just like the villain of the week or whatever, and but people really responded to him.
That was a good example because he has a great name. Which, by the way, that does matter.
Yeah,
right. It's part of the cocktail that when you drink it is awesome.
Right.
So, and he's also his banter is really fun for writers, probably, right?
Right.
And that draws you in. It maybe makes it more relatable in a way. And it's kind of like in the movie, it's heavy duty comic relief, right?
Right.
And it's also the way that they shove in all their agenda under the deck by having him do these little snarky remarks,
Yeah, but if you write him right, he'd make those snarky remarks ironically, But if you write Deadpool right, nothing is sacred to him, nothing is serious to him, He's just a randomness basically.
In the movie, there's a scene where he goes to the X-Men mansion in Deadpool 2. And so he's in a wheelchair and he's going through all the big rooms, and he says he sees the pictures of all the old guys.
Yeah.
And he says, "Oh, I forgot to bring my rape whistle." And behind him when he says that is Thomas Jefferson. Because there's this attack on Thomas Jefferson that says that he raped his assistant woman or whatever, Sally Hemmings. And you're like, so you can see how they can do this shit. But anyway, back to the topic.
I knew you'd find a way to make that into a conspiracy theory. I was just waiting. I was like, how is he going to turn this into a conspiracy theory? It's like, that's how he. Oh, okay.
But is it incorrect?
Well, that's not really provable. It's not really provable.
So the question, you guys, is that we were just talking about was whether when you're trying to create a character that is super potent and compelling for people to read, what visually and story wise, what are the elements that you do to make those characters fun and compelling for the reader? Luke Skywalker is a good example, right? He's the young kid off the farm. He looks the part. He's dressed in white.
Right.
Almost. Anyway.
Well, there are certain things that are basically like in the zeitgeist or like out there that are kind of like universal or whatever. That if you can like tap into that, you can kind of like maybe get a current that's but there's also the idea of the compelling part comes from the personality, because there was like this one character that was like visually very compelling to me. He's like really one of the best designed villains I've ever seen. Its name was Equinox, okay, and it was a Yellow Jacket wasp villain, and he was like having like it basically all the seasons were like represented in his body. He had like flame and he had ice. He had all this going on at one time, and the design of him was just incredible. But he was a one note villain. He was just like all anger, all angst, basically, and I never saw him outside of that one shot, but he was very well designed.
Marvel or DC?
This was Marvel.
Okay.
And and I kept expecting him. And I was like, that guy might catch on. Never did. But then you see another character that's just like a one shot, one note, and suddenly they've got their own spinoff series. I mean,
yeah, exactly. The Joker started out like that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, the Joker. I mean, that's what.
Go ahead.
Well, that's one thing that the villain of the week did for Batman. Is villain. They would like do a villain of the per issue, one villain, and they'd like try out villains, and then something caught on. Solomon Grundy. Oh, that one really caught on. Okay, let's keep him around for the Pantheon. Or the Riddler. Everybody liked that guy. Okay, let's keep him around. And that was the way that they built up that Batman like a villain. He's got like some of the best villains in all of comicdom. I think everybody would agree.
Some of them, I would say some of them are like the Joker, where they're like so awesomely boiled down to like insane chaos, and some of them are so corny, but they're really cool. Right?
Yeah. Like Clayface. Clayface was kind of like a second tier villain for a little while, but then they managed to he make him they like started focusing on him a little bit and got him actually where he was like really compelling to people.
Yes. The way he like the from the cartoon, where he looked like a hulking kind of like monster. Right. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, but the fact that he like takes on other people's identities, but who is he really? Does he even know?
Right.
The look is important. I like the normal look, not the steroid type. Personality makes me interested, and the tone of the comic too. Basically, all of the above. Yep. Well, it's ephemeral. I mean, everybody's looking for that formula, right? What do you think, Aaron?
Yeah, honestly, that guy's comment. I do think it's you have to have a mixture of all those elements. Like, you have to have it visually appealing so that you actually want to read about the character. And they have to do things and have convictions that make it so that you're enticed to see where they're going to be in the future.
Right. Well, it's like Smokes the Fox, he's this he's got the whole Fox thing. He's young, he's hip, he's like computer savvy. But then he gets on like this old army jacket, and steals a Harley, and smokes weed, I mean, so he just kind of like has that going on. But I could see where that guy would really have an appeal to people, especially in modern age.
Like in Marvel and DC, they will do something like Smokes, where they will have a compelling character, but it also taps into a culture.
Right.
Like, let's just say like a hacking culture, right? Mm-hmm. Or,
Oracle.
Oracle is great, right?
Yep.
Tony Stark was like an inventor ahead of his time. Mm-hmm. Kind of a, like a, I don't know if this is a good example. I wouldn't say it.
Hell, Def. If you want to come on, man, and stop calling us nerds and just come on the panel, just let me know. I'll DM you the link.
Oh, no.
Send us the link.
Well, if he DMs me, I'll send him the link. It is what it is. He's saying hell nerds again. I don't know. He's being repetitive.
Oh, I'm about to get on my computer.
Oh, okay. All right. I'll add you when you get back. But yeah, it's like Moon Knight. Moon Knight was a one shot and Werewolf by Night.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It was just supposed to be like a guy that hunted him for an episode, but people were like really found him compelling. Mm-hmm. And so they're like, oh, we got something here. So they took it and made his own series, and then did this whole backstory with Khonshu and multi-personality disorder. Right. Yeah, I mean, it's just actually the multi-personality sort of came kind of later on because he kept switching identities, and then they're like, well, what would be cool? They actually like had Moon Knight like the mantle of Moon Knight fall to other people, and then they're like, well, wait a second, what would be cool would be if it's the same guy, right. And then it's like, and then, Yeah. He just doesn't really understand it. It's the same guy, but it's different, like facets of the moon, right? Wish I could. Okay. Oh, sorry. But I'm stopping by to say, hey, leave you in the background while I work. Went and said hi on Luke's channel too. All right. Well,
Nice.
no problem. Thank you. Thank you for coming by, Neff. But yeah, I mean, you really, when I went to create my characters, I didn't consciously attempt to make a character that I thought would be compelling. I just basically decided to make the character whoever they are, and be as pure to this person's personality as possible. And it's been amazing to me when I share stuff to people. The ones that kind of like pop to people are really interesting, like Switch. She's SJW. She's annoying. She's self-centered. She's vapid. She's got the purple hair thing going on, and you think that, like, especially in this community, but every time I bring up Switch, everybody's just fascinated. And she's fun as hell to write.
Is Renfamous going to sue you at some point?
I don't know. I don't give a shit. She doesn't have. She doesn't exactly have a. She might say, oh, he's making Renfamous, but nah, she's way more interested in Renfamous ever was. Anyway,
cool idea to have that in your book, because it is a thing that it's fascinating to talk to people that are so different.
Yeah, right.
So,
well, she's a senator's daughter. She's like a Democratic senator's daughter. So she's
perfect.
She's basically like Amy Schumer, but pretty, But anyway.
Oh damn! You gotta do her like that, huh?
Well, I mean, but she does. It was funny. The more I wrote her, the more these depths started popping up. This like streak. For one second she's being like extremely vapid and extremely like cold-hearted. Then the next second she's like defending somebody with her body, and it's not when she's not thinking, or when she's not like making conscious choices. She winds up defaulting to heroism, and that was really fascinating about her. And I think that's going to wind up being compelling. The more I write her, more books down the line, she's gonna like have this ultimate moment that's just awesome. I mean, I like when it came to me, I was like, I wrote it down immediately. It's sitting on my laptop. But this moment, this really cool moment, is sitting there.
So will she become like the quintessential SJW?
Yep. No, she's not going to become a quintessential SJW. She's basically the only reason why she's like at these default positions that she's at is because she's never thought about it. And so in my world, people are like really long-lived. Hold on a second, and there you go. Hey man,
whammy.
But there's something that comes when somebody gets like powers in my world. There's something that takes over called there's something like boots up. It's called a maintenance protocol, and it can like preserve people. So it really slows their aging. Like she is basically about 50 years old, but she looks like she's in her 20s, right? But she's never learned a damn thing in all those 50 years, right? I learned a damn thing.
Can she make a sandwich?
She can have her servant make you a sandwich.
Oh.
Well, I mean, there's like a part at the end that I added in. It's going to be part at the end of this book arc, this 3-book arc, where she actually tries to like ditch everybody and hop in the car and have her chauffeur drive her away from all this. And the chauffeur's like, no, you've been cut off, princess. He says, by the way, that's not my name, because and she said, also your dog hates you too, She's sitting there. She's kind of like sitting there, and it's like raining, and she's like sitting there, kind of doing the self hug thing, and she's like, I don't even know my dog's name. What's wrong with me? And the guy that's with her is like, well, a lot. There's a lot wrong with you. So I liked you better when you're trying to kill us. But I mean, it just flows from that, right? And she winds up being a very compelling character, but from her inception, it just like she came organically, and I think eventually a lot of my characters, they just basically come organically. I was saying this the other night. I have a character. By the way, Belmont might have to ditch. He's got another show going on.
Yeah, sorry, man.
No big deal, man. If you have to head out, he had to head out. But I have like his character, and he's like living in his mama's basement. Okay, that's about all I knew about him. I knew he's overweight. He's living in his mama's basement.
Wait, who are we talking about? There's a lot of people like that.
Yeah, I know.
It's a thing.
Yeah, but I was like, okay, how did he get there, right? And I kept like hitting this wall, and then I had this image of him, being okay. Wait a second, what if he's a hometown hero? What if he's like the jock that won all sorts of awards and things like that, and then that ended for him, and he's just basically in deep depression. Hello, what's up, Shadowhawk Talks?
What's up, Shadowhawk?
Hey, man.
What's up, Shadowhawk?
But then it like went from there. I was like, my world. If you're competing in sports and you get found that you have active Soltrons in you, which is the name of the what gives you powers in my world. But if they find you have active Soltrons, it's like performance enhancing drug. And so even if you won any awards, gone. If you set any records, gone. And so he's basically back to zero. And so he like drops out of school out of the shame of it all and does a 9-to-5 job. He's just basically a security guard, like the most nothing job you can do. And he winds up living in his mama's basement, right? But then he finds out that if he gets hit really hard, the kinetic energy turns him into like a Hulk. Yeah. And so
shit.
And so he finds that out because he tries to commit suicide by driving his car into a tree.
Oh, right.
Oh, nice.
That'll do it.
Yeah, I gotta go, guys.
Okay, later, Belmont. Thank you, man. But then he said that the reason why he's in trouble, the reason why he's in community service, is he suddenly decided to turn that into a YouTube career, right? It's like he calls himself Suicide Man. He goes by the name Rick O'Shea. Okay, and so he's like, hey, am I gonna die this time? Jumps off of a bridge or something like that, and causes all sorts of property damage. But he's like gets a bunch of clicks on YouTube or whatever the YouTube is for that world, and just millions and millions of dollars of damage, right?
In your book, how many pages would you devote to his origin? One page, a compact page?
Well, I'm planning on having a supplemental book called the FERA Files that has the origins of all these characters in it.
Oh, so this isn't part of the main spine story.
Well, no. There's going to be like interviews with these guys. I think I took that out of the book early on, but I think I'm going to put it back. But it's basically it's interviews with these guys. Yeah, I kind of do that Bancroft thing. It kind of inspired me. But it's just really cool.
Before. Obviously, I've seen it in other things, obviously.
Right. But there's this really cool thing where the guy who's interviewing him, and he's just basically he's like, well, you the last thing you did was you destroyed a man's truck who's an independent trucker, and you destroyed his livelihood. And he's like, well, if you guys will let me upload again, and I'll pay him back, And the guy's like, you just don't understand, you're not understanding here. And the guy's like, understanding what? And he's like, Yeah, never mind. Okay, moving on.
Right.
Moving on. But he just doesn't understand that that paying them back is not the same as it's like that thing that we see in society right now. Well, as long as they get insurance money, I can like loot their store.
Right. The thing is not to do it in the first place and to understand why.
Right, the morality of it, right?
Yeah.
But he's like so addicted to that dopamine hit of like because he used to like knock home runs and throw the ball like 50 yards or something like that. He used to be this uber athletic jock. His name was known around the state, and then it all ended like that, and his name became like a byword for cheater,
like mud or something.
Yeah, exactly. But his dad was like a really famous athlete, and he left his mother for some other woman when he was a toddler. And but she kept the kid, of course, because of state. The kid always goes with mom. And all this time, he's like trying to prove to his dad that he's important. And so the sports was how he was improving to his dad that hey, I'm valuable too. And his dad was like coming to his games and things like that. And finally acknowledging that was his son. And then that the controversy happens, and now his dad's lost his number, and so he's like, in a way, he's got this daddy wound that I'm going to be exploring, because Ironsides, as soon as Ironsides starts the battle, he realizes that he can use that, and he starts manipulating it a little bit, which it's part of Ironsides. I mean, Ironsides is like, he's a chess master, right? To him, it's like, oh yes, the knight goes up and over. Okay, well so I'm going to use that. To him, it's just like maneuvering chess pieces across the board, and eventually that's going to come to a head, that because people don't like being manipulated like that. But to him, it's like, I'm trying to win a war here. I'm trying to, I'm trying to get us all out of here alive.
Great.
But see how that fits in? It slots in, right? And that's pretty compelling. But
it almost reminds me a little bit, not totally, but of M. Night Shyamalan has his universe of heroes. So he has the glass guy who's
right,
but he's super smart. Then he has the guy who's multiple personalities, and then he has a super strong guy, and they kind of intermesh in a way.
Yeah,
they complement. They're up where somebody else is down.
Right, and then he like kills them all at the end of the at the end of the movie. I
was kind of bummed out about that because I started just getting into it. I'm like, this is starting to.
I was like, he's gonna screw this up. I know he's gonna screw this up. How's he gonna screw this up? And then I had people coming out of the theaters rage quitting and like with their fingers in the air. And I was like, oh, okay, what did you do? What did you do? And it's like, he killed everybody. He just, wiped everybody out so he could like, oh, this is organization. He's going like, oh, this is the organization. I'm going to use these guys going forward. And everybody's like, no, we're not going forward with you.
It was not that interesting. I never been thinking at the end, I'm like, that's not that interesting. The other stuff is interesting.
Right. Yeah. The whole conflict in that thing, that was always interesting.
The actress he hired who had the giant eyes, you're like, well, that's at least interesting to look at. Right.
Right.
Is Aaron muted?
Yeah. Aaron's muted.
Aaron, so when you're doing Pendragon, does your hero or your villain, are they did you boil them down into like a certain type of character?
You're really you're being cruel right now because he can't respond till he gets figured out. Yeah, check your outlets there, dude.
I can read lips.
No, not yet.
Because the artwork that I saw from Pendragon was pretty sweet. And
very, 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 very.
Kind of reminds me of Mike Colletta.
Yeah.
It kind of reminded me a little bit of that.
Hello, Coleman. What's up, dude?
What's up, Coleman?
Yeah, that's a cool icon.
Yeah. Totally cool.
Yep. Yeah. Well, if you want to talk about that making compelling characters, though, I think it begins and ends. Hello,
can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, that's fucking dumb.
So back to you. To the question I posed is when you did Pendragon, you have heroes and villains that you boil down into something people can relate to, or did you do have a totally different approach?
For me, I tried to figure out like why the hell they're in the story to begin with, and I'm gonna use Mirrodin as an example, which is this world's Merlin. He's pretty much starts off as this kid who discovers he has great gifts. He's really intelligent, and he has a knack for magic. And his whole journey before the point of the actual book is him living in the limelight and getting all this knowledge, and then he makes one mistake, and then he's constantly trying to fix it. And in him trying to fix it, he makes it worse. And that trickles down into all this stuff that our main character, David Gracie, has to try and figure out and undo.
Yeah.
So because some heroes in some books, like the main characters, like say King Arthur, okay?
Yeah.
He's a compelling character, but he's not Mr. Personality.
Exactly.
Right?
No.
So the other characters around him are more interesting, like Merlin, right?
Yeah.
He's talking like Yoda half the time, and he's a pearl of wisdom kind of character,
Well, we're talking to Buddy about his vampire guy, CJ.
Oh yeah.
And he mentioned that he thought CJ was a King Arthur type, but I was like, no, he's a Lancelot. He's definitely a Lancelot.
Really?
Because Lancelot has that whole entire thing of the hero without a cause finds a cause and actually adheres more to the cause than the person that he believed in.
Right.
And to the sacrifices himself for that whole entire thing, and that's always been Lancelot's thing. That's why Lancelot's is compelling, is because Lancelot is a badass without a country, without a crown, without, he just basically built himself up on his own, to like right wrongs and be a knight, but he didn't have like a king. And then, he finds in an Arthur like a reason for all the sacrifice that he did, and he believes in what Arthur is doing. He believes he's a knight of the Round Table for a reason,
True.
And then, but then, the whole Guinevere thing happens. A little love triangle there.
Yo, who do you think came on to who first?
Let's see. I don't know. Guinevere's kind of a strange character,
I would guess that it wasn't Lancelot because in most versions,
well, he's a man of honor, so I don't know that he would have like had an unrequited love, but she was like, "Hey, I kind of dig you,"
like century per century, they kind of shift that a little bit, based on values of the day.
Yeah, because back then I don't know which video I was watching, but it's pretty much it equates to like the 3 types of love that people throughout centuries deemed like just and moral. Because you had love, you had like love of through duty, like like arranged marriage and stuff like that. Love through like actual passion, and then you had a love through something else, which I forget. But,
okay, what you're talking about is agape love, which is love that sacrifices without expecting anything in return. Phileo love, which is brotherly love, hence Philadelphia, which is like a love that comes from being friends and brotherhood. And then you have Eros, which is the knocking boots love. Anyway,
no, it's similar to that, but it's different the way the other person described it.
Okay,
because it's like it's purely romantic love, but there's different aspects of that which people find morally just given the time period.
Right. Okay, yeah, I guess there's knocking boots, and then there's like we're in a sexual relationship.
Yeah,
Okay,
we're talking about pure on physical knocking
Right.
that.
Right. Yeah.
I'm trying not to give you a strike.
Yeah, those two get conflated. I made the same mistake the world's making right now, didn't I? Yeah. Oh well, it is what it is. I'm not a perfect man, anyway. Yeah, but yeah, I could see. The thing that's really fascinating about the whole Knights and Round Table is there's like one shining moment where they were like the Knights of the Round Table, and then it almost immediately starts deteriorating. I mean, I'm almost like right on the heels of it, it starts deteriorating.
It makes a lot of sense because, at least in my life, I've noticed this pattern where people work their ass off to get to that thing,
right?
And then their human nature breaks it apart.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's almost like the longer you can stay there and get your maximum benefit out of that, the better. But it's going to end because people are contentious.
People are assholes. We all are.
And it's one of those things you go one day you're this, and the next day you're like, what did you mean by that?
Right. Exactly.
Right. Or whatever. Eventually it starts to break. Or somebody says, hey, I'll pay you more money to come work for me at this other place.
Well, that's why communism is so flawed, because it thinks you're going to eventually get to that like utopia, and you're going to like maintain it just through everybody's going to buy in, and everybody's goodwill, and everybody's going to be like, oh, everybody's taken care of, we're all taking care of each other, and there's no selfishness here, and we're all going to like kumbaya, sing kumbaya. But the problem is man is inherently selfish. It's in our DNA.
Totally.
It's in our freaking DNA. Take two kids and put them in a playpen together that don't have functionality, and they will steal toys from each other and fight. Okay.
Well, the problem is that when you ask, and that's all based on individual interpretation, because what you said is accurate. But the thing is, if I'm a Marxist, then I'm blind to it, and my reality is what's real.
And the weird thing about it is those are the most vile, evil pieces of shit. Is the pure Marxists. They are just evil and vile people, because they do the very things that they are like criticizing in other people. They have like the biggest blinders. Okay.
Totally.
The leaders of BLM were declared Marxists, said we are trained Marxists. Patrice Cullors, what does she do? She gets all that money, buys herself freaking mansions, and buys her family mansions, and then claims victimhood. I mean,
you don't understand. We were building a community. Gamers, what's the gaming gonna do, bro?
Yeah, exactly. But because that utopia, it doesn't exist. That's secular humanism's what's at the basis of that.
Right.
That men are inherently good, and that is flawed at the first. Men are not inherently good. You've got that, men are inherently good, and then you have this Darwinism, which is basically we're all animals. We're basically just advanced animals.
Right.
And both of these philosophies have been fighting against the Christian philosophy, which is that man is evil, but man can be redeemed, and the redemption is found through like this faith. For Aaron's sake, I won't push the dogma, but anyway.
No, that's right.
But basically, what's just the superior philosophy though? Because if you look, this one over here that says man is inherently good and pushes the communistic ideals, had murdered millions and millions and millions of people, and then the Darwinism that says man is basically just high functioning animals, leads to anarchy, and just says, oh, well, what does it matter? We're all animal based anyway. We might as well act like animals, okay? But then this philosophy in the middle here has managed to, for all its flaws and for all the flawed ways that it's been applied over the years, what has it done? It's created society. There's before Christianity and after Christianity, and it's pretty dramatic.
Sure.
The changes occurred in the world.
Well, the thing is, by the way, can I just mention how impressed I was how smart Commie Mark is and
right.
on the show, and he's really a commie. He knows that commie is like a negative term that they could plant. So he names himself Commie Mark.
Right.
And I'm like, that's pretty smart, I mean, and against your idea that these left wingers aren't smart, he's pretty smart.
Well, he's not really left wing. He's actually kind of a free agent. Because the exact same guy, he studied all like religions. He can compare them. You talk to him about any religion, he's pretty much, he can talk with you about it. He's knows his geography, he knows worlds, he knows flags, he knows civics, and he's a lot smarter than you give him credit. He just looks like a.
Oh no, I think he's super smart. That's why I brought it up.
But it's. I told him, I was like the other night. I was like, it's just a little bit incongruous for people that somebody with all this CCP iconography is pushing a book that's based off the sacred text of India.
Yeah. But either way, let's just say we don't even know what he really believes. Pretending, okay, he's marketed himself quite well.
Yeah, he's got a niche, man. He's definitely got a niche.
I was impressed. So
yeah. He's definitely got something going on there. But branding yourself is not a bad thing. I mean, not in this space. Definitely not a bad thing. But at the same time, it's like the whole. We were getting some buy one back one hashtag pushback last night.
So bizarre.
Oh, yeah.
That was like really strange to me, but they were like saying that. There we go. There we go. Anyway, but they were saying to me that they thought that I was coming across as being envious of bigger campaigns, and that this was like trying to like steal like thunder from bigger campaigns or whatever, and at least that's what my interpretation of what he was saying was wrong with what I was saying. I went back and listened to my explanation the other night, and maybe I have a blind spot, but I did not detect any of those ideas.
No, you don't have a blind spot. I think it's got to do with perception of you can't control other people's perceptions.
No,
where those perceptions come from? They don't come from objectivity, right? I mean, there really is. I was stunned. I was like, it makes no sense. This other argument makes no sense at all.
Right. Because at the very because we're like presupposing at the beginning that you are going to back these other campaigns. You're going to back these big campaigns. They got great merch packages. They're top-notch artists, some of the best that comics has ever produced. So yeah, you're going to want these books, right? Shoot, I got this in the mail. Okay, Zane Davis.
Oh,
I kind of did a glance through that last night. The art looks incredible. We'll see about the story, but I'm pretty sure it's solid. But I'm not going to I back these big guys. I mean, I even showed when I launched the hashtag, I said, this is my bona fides. And I showed like the first 3 pages, and it's like big campaign, small campaign, big campaign, small campaign,
Yeah.
And I was just like, wow, you were backing these bigger campaigns, assuming that you are going to back these bigger campaigns. While you're doing that, consider these smaller campaigns. Take a look at some of these smaller campaigns, and if you find one you like, back that one too. And it's like when I workshopped this idea in the Genesis crew, the guys like took shots at it, and eventually they all came around, and I'm like, if it made it out of the Genesis crew, then I got something here, If Buddy can say, okay, well, this might be a good idea, I'm like, I got Buddy, wow, or Luke Stone, I was like, holy crap.
Because I hate to admit this, okay, but I think this is one of many dynamics that happens.
Okay.
That, a big person will say, I don't like that. And then some people will latch onto it.
Right.
Yeah, that makes
right.
sense.
Well, I think the like the problem came in is when EVS invited us on the show, and then EVS made it about pushing Rift Riders, and instead of the hashtag, he pushed one specific campaign. And so people are like, well, you just got on there and you just pushed Rift Rider. See, that's how you really feel about it. And I think that's where this attitude is coming from. But
Really?
when we went on that show and we were given the link, and I went on a hostile show, okay? Well, I do not get along with EVS. We've kind of established that. And
Right.
I get on the show and there's JDA sitting there who also I don't get along with. And so I'm like, this is going to be fun. But I did it because I believed in this hashtag, right? And we talked every time we talked about the hashtag, he was like, "Oh, give me something to promote." And I was like, "Okay, this is the chain of the promotion chain that I started. There's campaigns on there." And he went over Commie Mark and went to Rift Riders, and that's the one he pushed, right?
Uh-huh.
And right after that one was just as a kind of like a proof of concept, I pushed Projectile Reptile, the third one, because technically it fits my criteria. And he didn't push that one either. He went straight to Rift Riders and pushed it for Piper and for Luke. And so people were like, well, if he didn't push anybody, he just pushed you guys,
Yeah, but that's not even your problem. That's a problem that's a problem that goes directly into bigger campaigns.
Right.
And I don't know. I think that some part of me thinks that Ethan did that purposely. I'm gonna give him the benefit of a doubt. But on the other hand, it's like you gave him a whole list and then you just chose the one person that was on the panel.
Right.
So,
right.
I don't know.
Well, I think he just wanted to like prove that these people are bad mouthing me. Let me show that I'm not the bad guy here. And I think that was just what it was about. It wasn't about the hashtag. It was about him proving he's more benevolent. He's benevolent, as always.
He wasn't, and he wasn't dismissive of the hashtag either.
Nuh-uh.
Right?
No,
he was okay with it. He seemed it was fine. He didn't bring up any of the issues that other people brought up.
No. It's because inherently this hashtag is not designed to take any money out of their hands or out of their campaigns. And if anybody like, and to be honest, there is a little bit of a logic trap involved. Okay, and that is if big campaigns try to squash the hashtag, then you have to ask, okay, this is not ending. It's not hurting your bottom line. So why are you hostile towards it? Do you want to like keep all the money for yourselves? And I mean, I could see that being
point. That's a good point because if you were a big shot and you had a killer campaign, why wouldn't you push that? You can't really lose. The only way you can lose is that if the smaller book was so unbelievably awesome that in a year or two your book went out of fashion.
Well, this is the thing, and when I was watching these bigger shows, okay, and I'm going to be honest, I haven't watched these bigger shows in a while now. I watch the professionals upon occasion. Some of the individual professional shows, I watch those. But these bigger guys, these bigger campaigns, these shows that where everybody congregates or whatever, I don't really watch those shows. But when I was watching those shows, there was this narrative that kept getting pushed. Oh, we're all about the rising tide lifts all ships. In other words, the more successful we are, the more successful these smaller campaigns will be.
There is some truth to that.
Well, that's the prevailing theory. So this hashtag's designed. Okay, so you want to know while this rising tide is lifting these bigger ships, these are the smaller ships that it should also be raising.
Right.
And if you think about the more mass a boat has, the easier it will be for it to float.
Right. Exactly. And so it just seemed to me like a no-brainer to say, okay, well, you want to know? I mean, because people are like, who do I back? Who do I back? Well, this is giving people an apparatus to say, click on the hashtag and look at who pops up. Okay.
Definitely, because I'm gonna admit this: us as human beings, we have been getting lazier and lazier by the decade. We don't look things up anymore, and I think that if we do use the hashtag, it will help to highlight a lot of smaller creators.
Well, there's something in marketing that is really kind of overlooked a lot. Okay, and it's one of the things that why CG is so important. I know that we have members of the GC who are basically like, jettison it, move away, get away from this thing. It's toxic, it's negative, whatever. But the thing about it is there has to be a connection between the potential buyer and your campaign. And the only way that happens is you have to create that bridge, okay? Or the bridge has to be already built, and you've got to be able to get people over that bridge, okay? And so Andrew White says, hey, what's up, man? Welcome in. And so it's like there's a super highway, okay? And say on the super highway there's these big box stores, okay? But along the way of the super highway, the people are going to these big box stores. There's mom and pops, all along the road, right? And so I'm just like saying, hey, these mom and pops are here. Maybe you can stop in and check out the homemade bees honey, that grandma, gathered from her hive in the backyard. Just there's these people who are basically boutique outlets that they're funding it with their own pockets. Okay, these hard-earned 8-hour days. These people are funding these things out of their own pocket, and they don't have the money to like produce book after book after book after book because they can't pay for a big production like that. But these books are good, and I'm just saying, maybe if we can get more money to these people, maybe they can get books out faster, and maybe they can build on it too.
Makes sense.
And so the $10,000 seems to be a reasonable goal, a reachable goal, and something that will allow people to have enough money to put back into their production to actually speed things up.
Exactly.
Well, let me ask you this: if a big guy number one, had come up with buy one back one, hashtag buy one back one, would we even be having this conversation?
That's an interesting.
I actually don't think we would. I think the perception is because if the people lower have any voice that says buy one back one, that's perceived weird. And if these people up here do it, then that's perceived as benevolent, right? In your words. So I don't know why. I actually don't know why anybody would ever think it's a negative hashtag. To me, it's totally positive for the reasons you gave. I mean, you're just using their ideas and then say, hey, well, here it is. Here's the action.
Well, I'm trying to put some wheels on the thing that they're pushing, and say, okay, this is the motion to the concept that you keep pushing out there. That if the bigger we get, the more money and more attention that's going to flow to these smaller campaigns, and I'm seeing people hitting 5 figures in less than a half an hour, and I'm seeing people struggle to get to 5,000.
Right.
And it's that concept is not currently working, and so this is an attempt to maybe address that.
So there's a thing I know it's come up before, but there's this other factor involved in selling books.
Okay.
We've talked about it before, but it's on top of all the other ones we're talking about. Forget about quality of book. Let's just set that aside.
Yeah.
A lot of it's personality driven.
Yeah.
Right. And let's say you're Mr. Personality, okay, in your normal life, But when you go online, if you're not able to make this happen right like that, and you connect with it, then it doesn't matter, right?
Right.
So it's just, but it's not just comics. I think a lot of things are like this.
Mm-hmm.
You might buy Dr. Dre's headphone thing because Dr. Dre, right?
Beats by Dre, whatever.
Right. So it's like one of those things where like part of the salesmanship involved is making that connection with other people.
And they're not even the best on the market. They're just the one with the best branding. Exactly.
Yeah. And they have a big industry behind them, right? To get the word out and to get it in front of people. Right. I'm sure there's been a lot of geniuses throughout the centuries that have had amazing ideas, but they just didn't have the push.
Thomas Edison, Nikola Tesla.
Exactly. That's actually the quintessential one right there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I for years and years and years and years, I was like always Edison was pushed in every textbook I saw. I didn't even know who Tesla was. I saw this band named Tesla and the Great Radio Controversy, and I was like, what are they talking about? And then I found out there's this guy named Nikola Tesla, and then I was like, oh, okay, well, let me go down this rabbit hole. And what a rabbit hole it was. Okay. And it turns out Thomas Alva Edison was basically just a figurehead to a laboratory full of inventors, and he took credit for everything they did because he had connections in the patent office.
True.
And so basically he's just like a patent clerk who used his influence to but he never invented anything. He never invented anything.
Did he even pay most of them for their work either? Because I know he didn't really pay Tesla.
Well, no, he had a contest with basically out there to try to increase the output of direct current, and Nikola Tesla, who's working for him at that time, did exactly that. And then he goes to Edison and says, "I fixed it. I increased the direct current output by 3 times or 4 times what it was, and where's my money?" And Edison's like, "Oh, here's a pink slip."
Ooh, I would have decked him in the face. I'm sorry.
Well, the interesting thing was, while he was sitting in the park, contemplating his future, mourning his loss, basically, he saw a bike go by. And when he saw the bike, the way the pedals went, he's like, wait a second. The problem with direct current is the resistance that's in the wire, because you're forcing something through the wiring, right? He says, but what if you're not forcing something through the wire? What if you're alternating pulses?
Okay.
So, i.e., you're not forcefully pushing something out of the way. You're piercing through something. And it decreases the resistance, and hence we have alternating current. And that came from him sitting in the park lamenting the fact Edison fired him rather than pay him. And so next thing you know, alternating current goes way further than direct. I mean, for direct to work, you need a power plant on just about every city block for it to work.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Because it's really because direct current is very short. I mean, it works in an outlet, but if you want any distance on the energy, you have to go with alternating current.
There's a story about Tesla and Carnegie, I think it was.
Yeah.
So he actually said he made he was able to produce energy on a constant basis.
Yeah.
Free energy. And so he's brought it to Carnegie, and he says, "Well,
it was General Electric, whoever was running General Electric."
He said, "Where's the meter?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "Well, it's free. You can just sell it to people, and they have energy free forever."
Right.
And he's like, "Well, fuck that. Where's the meter?" Right? And so it's interesting to me that there are probably a lot of people like Tesla who said, one way or another, they make their decisions and say,
J.P. Morgan. Yeah.
I said, I'm not going to do that.
J.P. Morgan. Yeah.
You can ruin me, but I'm not going to be an Edison.
Well, Tesla had a contract with J.P. Morgan. Okay. And it basically said that for however much energy he produced, he would get a very small percentage of it, right? But they never realized how much energy he was going to wind up producing. So they opened up the Niagara Falls electro power plant, the hydroelectric power plant, and they saw how much power was coming out of it. They're like, he would have been a multi-millionaire. And then they basically said, the only way this is going to work is if you give that up. The only way it's going to be because there'll be like a surcharge on all the current that goes out, and it's going to make it expensive.
True.
And so, but Tesla's like, I don't want to. I want to give energy to mankind. I do not want to just make money for myself. And so he gave it up, and basically lived penniless pretty much the rest of his existence.
I think there are a lot of people that, in various ways, won't compromise. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, yeah, you might be the awesome artist, and but Stan Lee wants you to do it a certain way.
Right.
Right. And they're like, I'm not like Steve Ditko was a little bit like that. Right. Uh-huh. And it's people like that, it's like, oh
no, the amazing creatives get shafted by businessmen. It happens. It happens upon occasion. Yes. Yeah.
It really does. I'm all for people making decisions about how they want to live.
Yeah.
Because, some people can't really go to sleep at night if they're ripping people off. And some people can.
Yeah. True. And the people that can rule the world.
And, who really wins in the end is the question.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we'd like to believe that there's, I guess, the concept of karma or whatever, that it all evens out in the end. But, I guess if you're Christian, you believe, okay, well, maybe things will be improved in the next world, that people will get their comeuppance. I'd rather do the right thing instead of the popular wealth-based thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you got Edison, who died a multi-millionaire, is in every single school book being told that he invented the light bulb. No, he didn't. And then you got Nikola Tesla, which basically is not a household name. It's becoming a household name, but people really don't understand. He came up with a system to project energy through the air and light up homes.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what Wardenclyffe was.
What's it called? Wardenclyffe?
Wardenclyffe. Yeah. This Wardenclyffe laboratory was about projecting energy around the world. He's going to have these antennas equidistant around the globe, and basically there would be no wires to light your home.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he was able to light bulbs up for miles away. That's the
right, like the movie in the movie.
Yeah. Well, I don't. That's that's like reputed that he did that. He claimed to have done it.
Well, either way, I wonder where that idea came from, because in the movie, I'm like, is this part of anything, or did they just make it up for the story?
No, he claimed to have done that. They claimed to have done that. He also figured out the resonant frequency the Earth is operating at.
Right.
And created an earthquake.
He created an earthquake?
He created an earthquake.
Really? Where was it,
It was just localized around his lab.
Oh, I see. I got you.
Yeah. And he immediately destroyed all the information.
Dang.
Yes.
So we're talking about somebody who may be the greatest genius that's ever lived. I mean, he was Tony Stark. I mean,
big time. I mean,
but at the same time, he was a horrible businessman. He always put in with the wrong people, and he always got taken advantage of. And in the end, they came and took all of his papers, and nobody's to this day, people don't know where they are.
Well,
reportedly don't know where they are. So,
as a person that I consider myself a free market capitalist, I would pose this question though: is there a way for someone like Tesla to ever succeed in this world without those people saying we're going to stop you if you don't do it our way? Is that feasible?
Well, that's interesting because I have a character who's basically Nikola Tesla of the world that I'm in, but he's a kid, okay, and like the whole entire thing, the whole entire like it. There's like a whole entire thing where he's like the like key to their future essentially, and they want to keep him like under harness, but they can't do it legally, and so they try to get him to agree to it. And basically the whole entire slaughter at the beginning that this book, my 3-book arc is like about. There's gonna be basically they're gonna put him like in the middle of this thing, and essentially what it's meant to do is to make him like sign over his rights to his future, essentially, because here he is, he's 18, they can't control him anymore, he's got to agree to sign on.
Boy, that sounds like our world a little bit.
yeah, there's a little bit there. Anyway, hold on a second. Memes of Destruction says, hey guys, what's going on? Rift Riders. Yeah. Theoretically, all it takes is more regular folks to realize the corporate jerks don't deserve the control we give them. Yeah. But the only problem is the corporate jerks control every single apparatus we were looking at, you know.
That's a conspiracy. I don't know. You're crazy.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you.
Crazy talk.
That's serious, crazy talk.
Who are you? Anyway. I don't want to talk to you.
They control the horizontal. They control the vertical. Anyway, so look. There you go. It's like, shoot, that sounds like Iron Man Armored Adventures.
Oh, yeah.
That was a cool cartoon. I like that cartoon.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny thing. The first thing this kid does is he turns the front end loader that he's been working on all day into a mech suit.
Oh, cool.
Oh, dang.
And he's not supposed to invent anything. He's like, it's illegal for him to invent anything. He's like, I was just playing around. I was bored, you know? So, anyway, he's a cool character. All right, guys. Thank you for everybody for showing up. Hey, memes. That's memes saying hey to everybody. And, unfortunately, I try to keep these shows about 1 hour each. It seems like everybody wants to come in the last minute, but you know, that's pretty much the format here. But thanks for coming, everybody. That we will be doing this again next week, hanging out about 3:30 on Mondays, and just an open topic discussion. I think today we discussed what makes compelling characters. We discussed the Arthurian legend. Discussed the mistakes of man, philosophy-wise, and then we talked about Nikola Tesla and Thomas Alva Edison. So, you know, we get around. Anyway, so if any of those things interest you guys, just watch the replay. This is one of the second. Old technology has grown so fast it can only be delayed so much longer. Independent creators and engineers will find a way. Have faith. Yeah, I do. That means, I believe in. I probably have more faith than I should. You know, there's a part of me that's like, no, don't believe in things are going to get better. Don't believe that, you know, because you know, if you believe things are going to get worse, then you pretty much 100%, you know, it's a higher percentage, you know, but truth of the matter is I am a bit of a dreamer. That's one reason I did the buy one back one, is because I believe that there is within the soul of this community, people who genuinely want to help each other. And I'm trying to get those people to people they can help. So there you go. Anyway, So thank you guys for showing up and bailing me out and being sounding boards for me. Thank you to the fluffiest chat and all of CG and the YouTube. And that's all we got for this afternoon. Y'all have a nice day. Bye, everybody.
Tell me what's on your mind.